Hey, what's going on, people? This is LB the Realist with Surrealistic Studios, Surreal News, where the real is surreal. I appreciate everybody who landed on this video. So let's go ahead and jump right into this story. We have 4 people dead in Australia due to a mass shooting. Now, this is just coming a few days ago. We had a mass shooting in Virginia Beach, which left 12 dead, I believe. And I didn't cover that one, because honestly, it gets to a point where these things happen so much. I heard another YouTuber say it, a lot of YouTubers have said, a lot of people have said it in general. We're just numb. We're just so numb to these kind of things in America that it's hard for us to have a new and fresh response to these kind of massacres, because they just happen so consistently. It's not that we don't care. It's not that we don't have empathy. It's just that we feel a sense of, I don't know how to explain it. We just feel like we can't do anything about it, and there's nothing that's going to be done about it. Now, I think this new one is interesting, because Australia, I believe, had just passed recent gun laws in the wake of what happened to them before recently, when they had the deadliest mass shooting in Australian history. So let's go ahead and get through this article here. This is from the West Australian, and I'll go ahead and save this, copy the link so I can leave it in the description so you guys can read it for yourselves if you like. 4 people are confirmed dead, and the police are investigating 5 crime scenes after a mass shooting in Darwin tonight. Northern Territory police said 4 men are confirmed dead, and 1 woman has also been taken to the Royal Darwin Hospital with gunshot wounds. In a stable condition, a Northern Territory health spokeswoman said. NT Commissioner Reese Kershaw said this evening that the alleged offender, who has since been arrested, was on parole at the time. The gunman went on the run from the police in the inner suburbs of Darwin after the shootings, but Superintendent Lee Morgan earlier confirmed that 1 man had been arrested and that there was no reason to believe any other shooters had been involved. He was on the loose for about an hour. A bystander in the Gardens, a suburb in the CBD, said he saw a woman shot 3 times in both legs by a man wielding a pump-action shotgun. That is devastating. Wow. The woman said she wrapped the victim's legs in towels while waiting for an ambulance and police. The alleged shooter, described by police as a Caucasian man, about 45 years old, wearing high visibility workwear, then reportedly fled the first scene in his ute before driving to the suburb of Stewart Park and allegedly firing his gun again. I don't know what an ute is. Maybe somebody in the comment section could let me know. The ABC said witnesses reported up to 20 shots were fired in total in the Darwin CBD. The gunman is reportedly aged 45 and, according to the ABC, was recently released from prison. There are also unconfirmed reports that the man has had his throat cut at a 3rd crime scene. Wow, what is going on? There was also reportedly a tree on fire near the scene after the gunman entered a hotel at about 5:50 p.m. with a pump-action shotgun and fired up to 20 rounds. Unbelievable. Facebook user John Rose said he witnessed the man shoot up the Palms Hotel. He was wearing high visibility. We found 1 person in the rooms that he shot up. Scary, Mr. Rose posted. We watched him like 20 feet away calmly walk into the hotel room and shoot the door open, and then proceeded to shoot up every room, he wrote. Witnesses told the ABC he was looking for someone named Alex. Police earlier said the suspect was described as wearing a high visibility shirt and driving a white dual cab ute. Okay, so it's a vehicle. Camouflaged TRG officers tackled a shirtless man to the ground and arrested him. The incident began in the inner city, Superintendent Morgan said, before he was next spotted near the Buff Club in Stewart Park, and then in Woolner. Bishop Street in Woolner was cornered off during the incident. Prime Minister Scott Morrison has issued a brief statement on the incident and made up the point that the incident was not believed to be an act of terrorism. And this is from Scott Morrison, a tweet. We have seen a terrible act of violence take place in Darwin this evening. We know 4 people have lost their lives and there are a number of other casualties. I have been in contact with Chief Minister Gunner and understand this is not an act of terrorism and a person has been taken into custody. My thoughts are with Territorians and the tight-knit community in Darwin. And that is the end of the article. Again, this is from The West, Australia by Craig Dunlop. So the fact that he says this wasn't terrorism is strange to me. This definitely sounds like an act of terrorism. Am I correct on that? Am I not assessing this situation correctly? This definitely sounds like a terrorist act. Whenever somebody shoots up rooms full of people, whenever somebody shoots a woman in the legs multiple times with a pump action shotgun, it sounds very terrible. That sounds like a terrorist to me. Somebody who's trying to inflict fear and terror into the lives of everyday citizens. So I know people are so sick and tired of hearing the condolences and I'm sorries and shit's gotta change speeches, so I'm not gonna say it. I'm just gonna say that this is what the world has to deal with, regardless of laws that are in place, regardless of, you know, whatever you think a law-abiding citizen should do. These things just happen to happen all the fucking time. And this time it happened in Australia. So, yeah, let me just look up real quick because I know that I believe Australia just had a mass shooting. Let me see. I'm going to look up Australia gun laws. Let me see. Here we go. This is from the Washington Post just an hour ago. In a rare shooting, gunman kills at least 4 people in the Australian town of Darwin. Let me go ahead and read a little bit here. A gunman killed at least 4 people on Tuesday in the northern Australian city of Darwin. And police arrested a 45-year-old man in the rampage, local media reported. Let's see. It was, let me see, here we go. It was the worst mass killing in Australia since September, when 5 people were fatally stabbed or beaten in a house near Perth in Western Australia. Okay, mass shootings have been relatively rare in Australia since it enacted a strict gun control law after a mass shooting in which 35 people were killed in Port Arthur, Tasmania in 1996. In March, a gunman attacked 2 mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand, killing 51 people in a massacre that prompted the government there to ban most semi-automatic firearms in the country. An Australian anti-Muslim extremist was arrested in Christchurch shortly afterward and charged with multiple counts of murder. So they're saying they banned most semi-automatic firearms in the country. Now, for those of you that don't know, a semi-automatic firearm is basically not almost every, but a significant portion of every gun. I mean, most guns are semi-automatics. One pull of the trigger, one fire, one bullet, and you have to keep pulling the trigger to keep firing. An automatic weapon is one where you pull the trigger once and multiple bullets fire with one pull of the switch. So they're saying that they got rid of most semi-automatic weapons. So they just got rid of most of everyone's guns, is what I'm hearing. And this is something that still happened. Now, I guess this guy was, he was, I guess, just released from prison. So let me go ahead and continue here. Let's see what the Washington Post has to say. Whereas Australians strongly approved of their country's gun laws even before the Christchurch attacks, opinion polls suggest that the shooting rampage has generated support for even tougher measures, even though Australia already has some of the world's strictest gun control legislation. The shooting in Darwin could spark a new debate over legislative changes. Far-right politicians have repeatedly sought to undermine Australia's gun laws. In March, Al Jazeera published footage of a sting operation by some of the network's journalists who had recorded senior politicians with the far-right One Nation Party appearing to seek up to $20 million in donations from the National Rifle Association, or the NRA, the U.S. gun rights group, during a trip to Washington. In return, the party officials promised they would seek to undermine Australia's tough gun laws. Al Jazeera said the recordings were made in September. When the recordings were released days after the Christchurch attacks, one of the filmed officials, Steve Dickinson, then Queensland's One Nation leader, denied the allegations, even though he acknowledged that meetings had taken place. Public responses to the recordings indicated that he and other far-right politicians would have a hard time selling their proposed changes to the Australian public. Australian commentators expressed outrage over the NRA's apparent interest in influencing public opinion abroad through financial or ideological support, which has also been documented in other countries, including Brazil and Canada. Morrison, a conservative, was among the top officials who defended the country's tough gun control laws. He accused One Nation of trying to sell Australia's gun laws to the highest bidders, to a foreign buyer. I find that abhorrent, Morrison said. So, again, this is from the Washington Post. I didn't read the whole article, but I read pretty much most of it. I'll leave it in the description so you guys can read it for yourselves if you so choose. This is by William Brannigan and Rick Nowak from the Washington Post. So, listen, people. I am all for tougher gun control in this country. I live in California, where we have some of the toughest gun laws in the country. Australia has some of the toughest gun laws in the world, and shit like this still finds a way to happen. I think we really need to, and I've said this in other videos, I think we really need to expand our consciousness. We really need to understand what it is that makes people do these things, instead of trying to just ban whatever they're using. Excuse me. Just like Trump is a symptom of the problem, not the actual problem itself, we need to find out what is the actual issue that's causing these mass murders. What is it? You know, if you get rid of all the guns in the world, people will still find ways to kill each other. And I know, if you have a room full of guns, you're that much more likely to be killed by gunfire. Absolutely, that makes sense. The more water that's around you, the more chances you have to die by drowning. The more knives around you, the more chances you have to be stabbed. It makes absolute sense, yes. But to just ban the thing that's not the actual problem, it's the people that are the problem, not the guns itself. And I'm not trying to, I know that to some people this is a dumb argument, and the duh response is to just ban assault weapons or just ban semi-automatic weapons. But in this country, in America, we're gonna have a tough time doing that. And honestly, I don't feel comfortable knowing that our citizens are disarmed when we have rogue, unenforced police officers and officials that run these streets rampant and have literally licenses to kill people. They have the authority to take your life in this country without reason or without cause. And they will get off scot-free. And you will be on a fucking t-shirt. These are the people that we give power. These are the people that we pay to kill us. Police officers, sheriffs. You know? So if we're gonna talk about disarming people, we need to talk about disarming the main threat, which are rogue, psychotic individuals with licenses to kill. And that's just me. And you know, it's fucked up that these things keep happening, but we never seem to have a gun debate on when a police officer kills somebody who's unarmed. We never have these debates. We never say, well, why don't we disarm the police? We always say, well, that person had it coming, or he shouldn't have been resisting, or, you know, I'm not trying to make this about police brutality. My bigger point of what I'm trying to say is, if we're going to disarm the people, we need to disarm everybody. We have to be all on an even playing field here then. Because if we disarm the people, and the only people that have weapons and power are the government and government officials and police officers, then I think we're heading in a direction that's not really in line with American values. And yes, it is terrible that these things keep happening, and this needs to be addressed. Absolutely. I am all in favor of strict background checks so that psychotics don't get guns, don't get weapons. I had to do a background check. I go through regular background checks for jobs, and for background checks are just a part of my life. It's nothing, whatever. And just to make it harder for certain individuals to get weapons that don't need them, I am in favor of that. But it just a blanket ban on guns itself, that requires a deeper discussion. And if we're going to do that, we have to look at all angles and all sides of this. Not just disarm the people, not just punish law-abiding gun owners for the actions of evil, psychotic individuals. We have to really address the cause of this issue and not just the symptom. And it's hard for me to not say words about the shootings and to the families of this tragedy, because I know they don't want to hear it. I know they don't want to hear it, and I'm getting sick of hearing it. I'm getting sick of saying it. But it's just a very complicated issue that it doesn't have to be. We need to address the issues and not put band-aids over gushing wounds. So it's frustrating because I don't want to see anybody die, but I don't want to see our rights eroded. I don't want to watch our country turn into something that it was never supposed to be. I don't know. Leave me your thoughts in the comment section below, people. Like this video if you like, share it if you feel as though it's shareable, and subscribe to me if you haven't before, so we can keep these conversations going. We just need a lot more love in the world. My bro Silent, he's a hip-hop artist, musical artist. He has a new song called More Love, Less Hate. That's what we need in this world. We need more love, less hate. It wouldn't matter if every person in the world had a gun. If we had more love in this world and less hate, there would be no need to use it on each other. So let's really attack the issues of what's going on in this world and stop putting band-aids on it and moving on to the next. Okay, so until next time, people, keep fighting, keep spreading out enlightenment. More love, less hate. We're going to keep that hashtag going, all right? Until next time, I'm out.